Hello everyone, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and today I'm going to show you how to make these intertwining herringbone macrame earrings. And this is the pair that I've made, so I just chose to keep it in these purple colours. I used two different tones to really accentuate the effect of the intertwining herringbone effect more. So we create that as we're making the earrings there, making the rows of knots on the side, and then we alternate between the colours as well. And you can also see I've graduated from larger to smaller, both in the beads but also in the rows on the side, just so that when it hangs from the ear, it gives that really nice graduated effect. So these are the earrings. Now I've already done tutorials for a similar bracelet and necklace as well using the same technique, but obviously just in a bracelet form and a necklace form. So you can now make a whole set if you want to, obviously if you want to combine using the same colours. So if you want to check them out, I'm going to put links to them in the description box down below. But otherwise, if you want to learn how to make the earrings for it, then keep watching. So these are the materials that we're going to need. The cord that I'm using is this 1mm satin cord, and I'm using these two different colours, a darker purple and then a lighter purple. You can also choose whatever colours you want to, or you can even just choose to use one colour. And then we'll need some different sizes of beads to get the graduation. So what I have here is for both earrings, so I'm starting with 10mm rounds for the bottom ones, and then I have 8mm rounds, the next one's down, and then the 6mm rounds, and then the final ones, the smallest ones, are 4mm rounds. And the actual beads that I'm using are these Stardust metal spacer beads in silver, but obviously you can use whatever you want to. And then I'm just using a few jump rings here to attach our piece to our earring findings, and in this case I'm using these earring posts and butterfly backs. Obviously you can choose whichever ones you prefer. So let's get all the materials ready and let's get started. So then what we're going to need is 4 lengths of our cord here of about 1 meter each, and I just have 2 of each colour. And then we also need a length of about 35 centimeters here. This is going to be the holding cord throughout, and you can really choose whichever colour you want to. I've just chosen the dark purple. So I then took my short holding cord and attached that onto my mini macrame board, and what I've done is I just put it into one of the slots on the top, and then also a slot on the bottom there opposite each other. Then on the top one I've just put the tail, looped it around the back of the board of that slot there, and then come through the slot next to it and just leave a bit of a tail, just so we can end up creating a bit of a loop that's going to then capture a jump ring. And then we need to attach all the other lengths of cord to this holding cord here. So I'm just going to take one at a time, and I'm starting with my dark purple cords and take the first one. Then what I've done is I've put both ends together like that to find where the middle is, because then I keep hold of that. Then I need to put one end underneath that holding cord on the board, and then get the middle to lie under the holding cord, just like that. And I've also brought it under this tail here. So just for now we need to imagine that both of these are holding cords. Obviously this tail is just laying a bit loose, and then I'm going to attach it using a square knot. So just keep the cord under there in the middle. Then I'm going to bring my left length over towards the right, over the top of these two cords. Then I take the right one, and I like to put my finger on there, on the loose cord that we're attaching, just to make sure it doesn't move around too much. And then I bring that over the first one. I lift up the cords in the middle and put it underneath all of them. And then we need to bring it up through the loop here on the other side. Keep hold of everything while I then start to pull the cords tight. And then bring it up a little bit here. So now this cord is basically attached, but this is just the first half of the knot. So I'm going to take the right length now, bring it over, then the left one goes over that, and then underneath everything in the middle. And remember to incorporate that little tail for now. And then up through the loop on the other side, and then tighten. And then this is now a full square knot, and it's attached nicely now. So what I'm going to do is attach the other dark purple underneath this in the exact same way, also around that little tail. Then I have the two lighter purple left. I'm going to just attach them the same way, but there I'm going to leave the tail out. So I attach this one first of all, and then just push the tail out of the way. And then I attach these two lighter purple in the same way otherwise, but right underneath there. Because then we have all the cords attached to the holding cord, and we can start making the main piece. So then I attached all the cords, and you can see I've got the two dark purple on the top and then the two light purple on the bottom. And then I have that tail from the original holding cord just coming out in between them, and I just put it out of the way just so it doesn't get tangled up with my work. And what I've also done is attached all my beads onto the holding cord, so they look like this. So I've got the large bead first, and then they graduate downwards to the smallest one. So you want to attach them like this, and then I just push them all the way down so they're out of my way, and just bring up one at a time. So now that we need to start making the knots that's going to form the pattern along the edges, what I'm going to do is start with the top cords, so the dark purple ones in my case. I'm just going to start with one side, doesn't matter which one, because we'll be doing the same thing on both sides. I'm just going to take my left ones, bring both of them down over the bottom ones that are going out to the side. So you're going to have one, the top one there, when we bring them down, is going to be more towards the left, and the bottom one of the two is going to be more towards the middle. So what we're going to do is make some knots with these two first of all. The one towards the middle, or the bottom one, is the holding cord. Then I'm going to take the other one as the working cord, bring that over the holding cord, back underneath, and then bring it up through the loop here on the other side. So we basically get a 6 that's looping around the holding cord like this. Then I'm going to keep hold of the holding cord, pull it a little bit taut, and then push this knot up and tighten it all the way next to the square knots there. And kind of a bit in like that, and hold the holding cord a little bit out to the side. So not too much straight down, but a little bit out as you tighten the knot. And then I'm going to bring the working cord under, back around and through. So the exact same movement, except it's just going under instead of over, and then pull that up, tighten it, and this is the first full knot on the side here. So just to show you again, we start out by bringing the working cord over, back around, under and through, and then we tighten it, and then we bring it under, back around, over and through, and then tighten that. And that's now the second knot. So we go over, just grab hold of it there, over the holding cord for the first half, and then under the holding cord for the second half. And what we're going to need is 11 knots of these on this holding cord here, until we then reach below what's going to end up being the first bead. So we want this row of knots to end up meeting up just below that first bead. But I'm going to make 11, and then obviously we want to do the same on the other side. So that's the exact same thing, except it's a mirrored image. So all we do is we swap hands. So the inner one again is the holding cord, so that means the outer one is going to go over and pull tight, and then for the other half it's going to go under, back around and through, and then pull tight. And you can see there, that's the very first knot on that side, and it looks the exact same, just obviously mirrored on the other side. So just make the 11 knots on both sides. So now I made all my knots here. What I'm then going to do is push up that first bead, just a single one, and then you can see these rows meet up just nicely underneath the bead by the holding cord in the middle. So what we're going to need to do is now attach these rows to the holding cord in the middle. So we're going to do that just using a square knot. So I'm going to take the two holding cords from the side rows there, one from each side, so just the ones that are naturally closest towards the holding cord in the middle, and then just make a square knot in the exact same way as we did when we attached all the cords. And then tighten that, and that's going to sit up right underneath the bead. We need to make the other half. Now when you make the other half, the first half there is probably going to come a bit loose. So what I like to do is, before I completely tighten the second half there, just re-tighten the first one, and then keep my fingers on there while I then tighten the other half of it, and then pull it nice and tight, because then the second half of that knot is what's going to keep it in place. So that's the first one. Now we also need to use the other cords here, so I'm going to bring them down over the ones we've just used, and then make another square knot with them right underneath that first one, just like this. And you can just pull it nice and tight, and then we have again the cords going straight out to the side, and they're ready for next time they need to be used. Now what I like to do then is, because you'll be able to see that there's going to be a bit of a gap between the bead and the knot there, so I'll grab onto the holding cord in the middle, and then I put my finger on the knots there, my fingers, and then push them up. so they end up sitting right close under the bead. You can see it just moved and it pushed those 2 rows a little bit further out to the side. So I just like to do that after each bead, once I've attached the side rows there, just to make sure it becomes as tight as possible to each other. So that's the first bead attached and incorporate it. So now we need to move on for the next bead, which is obviously the next one down in size. So what we're going to use for that is the next cord. So that's the light purple one, so the current top ones. So I'm going to bring both of them down over the other ones, and then we basically need to do the same thing. So start making some rows on the side. So again, just start on one side at a time. I'll grab the 2 cords. The bottom one, or the one closest to the middle, is the holding cord, and the other one is the working cord, and then we just start doing the exact same thing. So go over, back around and through, and then tighten this. Again, hold the holding cord a little bit out to the side, and you just want to make sure that this knot goes all the way underneath the row that we've already done there and sits close right after, next to those square knots where the cords are coming out from. And then we go under, back around and through, and then tighten, and then that's the first knot, and you can just see it through the gap in the middle there. So you just want to continue building your row, like I said, in the exact same way as we did above. And again, also move to the other side once you've made this one, and just work with opposite hands, and also build a row on this side. So again, they become even with each other. Make sure to push that all the way in there, so you don't have a gap where before the knots start. Just like that. And what we're going to need here is a total of 12 knots on either side. That's then going to fit nicely and match just underneath that next bead. And also, once you've then made your rows of knots, then we just need to attach them to the middle holding cord again, just in the exact same way as I showed you up there. So for the next one, we then need to use the top 2 cords again on either side, and those are now the dark purple ones in my case. So you can see they keep kind of swapping places with each other, and we just push up the next bead, and then to reach down here we need to make the same knots, but we just need to make 10 to reach underneath instead of the previous amount, but otherwise making them in the exact same way, and again attaching them to the middle holding cord as well. So now we only have 1 bead left, and that's the smallest one there. Then what we're going to need to do is the exact same thing. Bring the top 2 on either side down over the other ones, going out to the side. In this case, that's my light purple ones. And again, we need to make the rows on the side and then connect them there under the bead in the middle. And what we're going to need to do here is 8 knots on either side. So now we've gotten to the end and we used up all the beads there. What we need to do is make some more rows on the side, again with the top ones, in this case now they're dark purple, but obviously there's no bead to bring in, so what we just need to do is make enough knots to end up having the rows meet in the middle there, right underneath that square knot after the previous one, so underneath them light purple ones. And what that is 5 knots on either side, and also then connect them right underneath those using the square knots. So the final thing we've got to do is make the point down here and finish off the graduation. And how I'm going to do that is not making more rows on the side. We're done with that. I'm just going to literally take the top cord on either side, so make sure it's the very top one, and bring them down over the rest, just the one on either side there, not both of them. And then what we're just going to do is bring them down and then make a square knot with these 2 around that middle holding cord. And then just tighten that underneath the previous one, which in my case were dark purple, and now I'm using the light purple. Make a square knot with these cords and then bring them out to the side, and then we take the other 2 cords, the one on either side of the same colour, bring them down over all of them, and then just make another square knot with them. So just like this, tighten it nicely. And then you can see we now end up with, in my case, the light purple as the bottom one, and then we have created that little point. So this is now basically the main piece of the macrame. And we can then take this off of our board so we can finish off the lengths of cord as well. So this is then what it looks like so far. You can see we have the macrame piece there with a nice graduation and the beads in the middle. So what we have left really is all the cords. As you can see, they're pretty much just coming out towards the back of the piece, obviously except for the holding cord on the bottom. So what I'm going to do now, first of all, is actually attach my jump ring. So I have that here and I've already opened it. And I'm going to attach that to that loop at the top that we left by looping over the holding cord and kind of trapping it within the knots there. So I'm just going to put my jump ring through, catching that loop there, and then just closing the jump ring. Just grab onto it properly. Make sure the cord stays inside the jump ring as we close it up. Something like that. I just need to close it properly so there's no gap that the cord can slip through. Just make sure of that. So now the jump ring is attached, and then what we need to do is obviously tighten this loop because it's very loose right now. So I'm just going to grab a pair of flat nose pliers here. I'm just using them because I find it a bit easier to get a nice grip on the cord. Because first of all, it's a bit slippery, but also it's not a very long length. So I'm just going to flip this around to the back because that's where I have that little tail coming out that we use to make the loop with. So all I'm going to do is grab hold on top of those knots at the top there, where the cords are going through, and then I just grab onto that little tail with my pliers. Like I said, it's just to get a better grip, and then I start to pull this tight. You can see the loop gets smaller and smaller, and I pull it all the way. So basically, that jump ring is going to sit and come, kind of stick out right from the top there, and be trapped nicely in place, and then just sit proud like that. And then obviously we just have that tail that's kind of gotten a bit longer now because we pulled it tight. So just make sure it's pulled nice and tight. That traps that jump ring in place. Obviously we then use that to attach to our earring findings. So all that's left now are all these tails that we need to get rid of. And because I'm using a synthetic cord, I'm going to use a lighter to singe off the ends to make it nice and secure as well. But if you don't use synthetic cord like I am here, but say using a natural cord of some sort like cotton, then what you're going to have to do is use glue. So all you would do is just put a bit of glue around where the cords are coming out from, so the top one and also all the ones on the bottom, and then cut them down, so cut off the excess. Now what I'm going to do, like I said, is use the lighter. So I'm just going to show you how I do that. Just separate out one or two at a time, and it's the same for all of them. I'm just going to show you down here. Then I take a pair of scissors, and I want to cut off the excess, but just leaving a couple of millimeters from the knots that the cords are coming out from. So cutting off the excess from these two, like that. And then you can see I just have short little tails left there, and those are the ones I then want to singe down with my lighter. So obviously be careful because this is a naked flame and it does get hot. But I just use that and just singe down the very end, just hitting those two that I just cut off. Basically make them melt, and then I like to use the lighter and roll over while it's still hot and melted so it can be molded, and that seals the cords in place so you don't have to worry about anything coming undone. And you just want to do that with all of them, including that one up there as well, like I mentioned. So now I got rid of all the cords and it looks like this. So as you can see, this is the front of the piece because you can't see any of the cords that I got rid of, but on the back is then where I got rid of all the cords. You can just slightly see it a little bit there. So that's going to be the back of the piece. And obviously all that's left to do with this is attach your earring finding to the top jump ring there, whichever ones you want to use. And otherwise what you got to do is make another one to have a full set. So I now made the other earring as well, and then this is what the final pair looks like. You can see we have that nice graduated effect with the intertwining macrame rows, and obviously those different colours as well really make that stand out. So that's what the earrings look like. So if you want to make the full set, then check out the other tutorials that I have for both the bracelet and the necklace. Obviously you can make the colours match if you want to wear it as a set, but then this is for the earrings. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial here, and thank you very much for watching.